Have you ever said something you regretted as you got older? Or done something that made life harder than it had to be? Well, if you're entering the golden years, there are 3 things you should never say, and 3 things you should never do. Trust me, I've seen it all. In this video, we're diving into the wisdom of those who have been there and done that. The elderly who've experienced firsthand the consequences of certain actions and words as they age. Whether it's a simple phrase that keeps you stuck in the past or a habit that can wear you down, these insights will help you avoid making the same mistakes and guide you toward living a more fulfilling, peaceful life. So, grab a seat, because the lessons shared today are ones you'll want to engrave in your heart. First section, 3 things not to say. 1. I'm too old for that. How many of us have said, I'm too old for that? It's something we often tell ourselves when faced with new challenges, hobbies, or opportunities. For years, Martha, a 78-year-old woman, had this exact mindset. She believed that after a certain age, her time for new experiences had passed. She'd hear about a cooking class, a dance group, or even a local painting class, but would dismiss them with a sigh, thinking, I'm too old for that. But one day, something changed. Martha's daughter, noticing her mother's growing sense of stagnation, gently encouraged her to join a painting class at the community center. Martha hesitated at first, certain it would be too much for her, but eventually she agreed, if only to make her daughter happy. Little did she know, this small step would completely shift her perspective on aging. As she dipped her brush into the paint for the first time, something stirred inside Martha. The act of creating art, of seeing colors transform into something beautiful, reawakened a part of her she thought had been lost. She found herself lost in the strokes, in the joy of trying something completely new. It wasn't just about the painting. It was about feeling alive, inspired, and engaged in a way she hadn't experienced in years. Martha's story is a powerful reminder that age should never be a barrier to growth. We all have the potential to start something new, to explore passions we may have set aside no matter how old we are. Martha went on to become a regular in that painting class, and her art has even been displayed in local galleries. She found a new chapter in life, full of creativity and joy, all because she stopped telling herself, I'm too old for that. So, if you're ever tempted to say you're too old for something, remember Martha. Age isn't a limit, it's just a number. The best time to start is now. 2. That's just the way it is at my age. How many times have we heard or even said, that's just the way it is at my age? It's a phrase that can creep into our minds when we face health issues, aches, or fatigue. We start to believe that as we get older, we simply have to accept feeling run down or helpless. For Frank, an 82-year-old man, this mindset became all too familiar. Frank had always been an active man, but as he entered his 80s, he began to notice his energy levels dwindling. He felt constant aches and pains, and simple tasks like walking up the stairs became a struggle. Over time, Frank found himself using the excuse, that's just the way it is at my age, whenever someone asked why he wasn't doing more or taking better care of himself. He'd resigned himself to the idea that aging meant living with discomfort and limitations. But one day, during a routine checkup, Frank had a conversation with his doctor that changed everything. The doctor, who had seen countless seniors live vibrant, active lives well into their 90s, told Frank something eye-opening. You're not doomed just because you're older. Many seniors who focus on small changes, like adjusting their diet and adding a bit of daily exercise, feel better, live longer, and enjoy life more. This advice sparked a realization in Frank. He decided to stop letting his age be an excuse for inactivity. He began making small but significant changes in his life, cutting back on processed foods, incorporating more vegetables and lean proteins into his meals, and walking every day. At first, the changes were difficult, but soon he noticed a shift. His energy increased, his aches and pains became less frequent, and he even started feeling more positive and optimistic about his future. Frank's transformation is a testament to the power of small adjustments. His story proves that while aging does come with its challenges, it doesn't mean we have to accept a life of decline. With the right mindset and some simple lifestyle changes, we can live with vitality and enjoy our later years more than we ever imagined. So, the next time you catch yourself saying, "That's just the way it is at my age," remember Frank's story and ask yourself, what small changes can I make today to improve my tomorrow? 3. I've lived my life, now it's time for others. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, I've lived my life, now it's time for others. When we reach a certain age, we can start to feel like our best years are behind us, and that our role in life has shifted from living for ourselves to focusing solely on the younger generation. Gladys, in her late 70s, felt exactly this way. After retiring and losing her spouse, she began to question her purpose. Her days felt empty, and she found herself saying more often, "I've lived my life. Now it's time for others." For a while, Gladys did little more than spend her time watching TV and occasionally visiting family. But something always nagged at her, a feeling that she wasn't done yet, that there was still something more she could give. One afternoon, a neighbor mentioned a local shelter that was looking for volunteers to help with their food pantry. Gladys was hesitant at first, telling herself that she wasn't needed, that there were younger, more energetic people to help. But after some encouragement, she decided to give it a try. What Gladys found at the shelter completely changed her outlook. She not only enjoyed the work, but she also connected with others, both the people she was helping and the other volunteers. She heard stories from young mothers who were struggling, from refugees trying to build new lives, and from people in need who were grateful for just a little bit of kindness. Gladys realized that her experience, her wisdom, and her time were invaluable, not just to herself, but to the community around her. Gladys's story proves that no matter your age, you always have something to offer. Volunteering gave her a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper appreciation for the impact she could still make. She discovered that she wasn't just living for others. Her life still had incredible value, and her contributions were more important than ever. So, if you've ever thought that your time has passed, remember Gladys. It's never too late to find a new purpose, to lend a hand, or to share your wisdom with those who need it most. You always have something to offer, no matter your age. Second section, 3 things not to do. 1. Don't isolate yourself. As we get older, it can be easy to fall into the trap of isolation. Sometimes, after a loss or a life-changing event, we find ourselves pulling away from others. For George, an 80-year-old man, it was the loss of his spouse that led him to isolate himself from his friends and family. At first, he didn't feel like socializing anymore. He thought it would be easier to just stay home and keep to himself, as if being alone would lessen the pain. The quiet of his house, while sometimes comforting, soon became a reminder of what he had lost, and the loneliness set in. For months, George refused invitations to dinner, declined calls from his children, and avoided his longtime friends. He convinced himself that he didn't need anyone, that it was just too hard to be around people. But one day, something unexpected happened. George's old friend Bill showed up at his door, uninvited and determined. Bill didn't ask if George wanted to go for a walk. He simply said, "Get your shoes on. We're going for a walk." Reluctantly, George agreed, and they set off. At first, the walk was awkward. George didn't feel like talking, and Bill respected that. But as they strolled, the rhythm of walking began to ease the tension. Slowly, George started to open up, sharing memories of his wife and talking about the pain he was feeling. Bill listened patiently, never rushing, just being there. That simple walk was the start of something bigger. Over the following weeks, George realized how much he had missed his friends and family. The connection, the shared moments, the simple joy of being with others. He had been depriving himself of all of that. Bill's insistence reminded George that isolation was not the answer. It's easy to shut yourself off from the world when things get tough. But George's story shows just how important it is to stay connected. Socializing, even in small ways, can lift your spirits, strengthen your mental health, and remind you that you're never truly alone. So, if you ever feel the pull of isolation, remember George. Reaching out, even when it feels hard, can make all the difference. Don't let yourself fall into the trap of solitude. Stay connected and allow others to be a part of your healing process. You might just find that the support you need is only a phone call or a walk away. 2. Don't ignore your health. As we age, it's easy to dismiss small health concerns as just part of getting older. A few aches here, a little fatigue there. We convince ourselves that it's just the natural progression of time. Helen, a 75-year-old woman, lived with this mindset for years. She had a few aches and pains that she shrugged off as normal aging, and she didn't pay much attention to the signs her body was giving her. Her energy was low, her skin felt dry, and her joints often ached, but Helen thought it was just something she had to accept. She didn't see the need to visit the doctor for what seemed like common age-related issues. One summer afternoon, though, Helen's body gave her a harsh wake-up call. After spending a few hours in the garden, she suddenly collapsed. She was rushed to the hospital and diagnosed with severe dehydration. The doctors explained that not drinking enough water over time, combined with a lack of proper nutrition and movement, had taken a serious toll on her body. It was a scary moment for Helen, but it also became the turning point in her life. That scare was enough to make Helen realize how much she had neglected her health. She knew that if she didn't take better care of herself, she might not have many more chances. After being released from the hospital, she made some significant changes. First, she focused on staying hydrated, making sure to drink plenty of water every day. She also began eating a more balanced diet, including more fruits and vegetables, and cutting back on processed foods. Finally, she incorporated gentle stretches and short walks into her daily routine to keep her joints and muscles moving. The changes weren't dramatic at first, but over time, Helen noticed a huge improvement. Her energy levels soared, her joints felt less stiff, and the aches she had once accepted as inevitable started to fade. Most importantly, she felt more in control of her health and more empowered to enjoy life again. Helen's story is a powerful reminder that we should never ignore our health, no matter our age. Small, simple changes can make a world of difference in our quality of life. So, if you're ever tempted to brush off your health concerns as just part of getting older, take a page from Helen's book. Don't wait for a scare to make changes. Take charge of your health today. Drink that extra glass of water, eat that nutritious meal, and move your body in ways that make you feel good. Your health is your foundation, and taking care of it will help you live your best life, no matter your age. 3. Don't overburden yourself with unnecessary obligations. As we age, it's common to want to keep helping others, especially when we've always been the one people rely on. Bill, a 79-year-old man, was the epitome of the family caretaker. For years, he was the one to take on every responsibility, whether it was organizing family gatherings, helping his kids with home repairs, or looking after relatives in need. He felt a deep sense of duty to his loved ones, and because of this, he rarely said no. But over time, the weight of these constant obligations began to wear him down. Bill didn't want to admit it, but he was exhausted. The never-ending tasks were taking a toll on his health, his energy, and his mental well-being. He found himself feeling more stressed than he ever had before. One afternoon, while trying to juggle yet another responsibility, Bill's children noticed how worn out he looked. They sat him down and gently reminded him that he didn't have to do everything himself. They pointed out that they were more than capable of handling some of the things he always took on, and that he deserved to take a step back and focus on his own well-being. At first, Bill struggled with the idea of letting go. He had always been the one to keep things running smoothly, and he feared that if he didn't do everything, others would be disappointed. But after reflecting on his children's advice, he realized they were right. Bill decided to start delegating more and focusing on what truly mattered, spending time with his family, enjoying hobbies he loved, and taking care of his own health. Bill's decision to ease up on the unnecessary obligations transformed his life. He was no longer bogged down by a never-ending list of tasks. Instead, he found himself enjoying life more, feeling less stressed, and having more energy to do the things that brought him joy. By learning to delegate and focus on what was most important, Bill was able to live a more peaceful, stress-free life. If you're someone who tends to overburden yourself with obligations, take a lesson from Bill's story. It's okay to say no, to ask for help, and to let others carry the load sometimes. By doing so, you'll free yourself to focus on what truly matters: your health, your happiness, and your peace of mind. Life becomes so much more enjoyable when we stop carrying every burden on our own. Conclusion. So remember, don't isolate yourself, don't ignore your health, and don't overburden yourself with unnecessary obligations. Life becomes so much more fulfilling when we learn to care for ourselves and prioritize what really matters. Thank you for watching. If you found these insights helpful, don't forget to leave a comment and let me know which one resonated with you the most. Was it the importance of staying connected, taking care of your health, or learning to delegate? Drop a 9 or a 0 in the comments and let's keep the conversation going. Take care and see you in the next video.